Thanks, Dylan. It's it's a long time coming, isn't it, Dylan? What does it feel like? Probably just feels like another game, to be honest. I suppose there's been a little bit of planning this week, which makes it more special, and you get a few messages from ex-players and family members and things like that. So it does make it special, but it is another week, and really looking forward to the challenge against the Dogs. They're in a informed side of the comp, so it's going to be great back down here in front of our home crowd, and really looking forward to it.
Mitch, can you remember when you first walked into the play?
I can. It didn't look like this, that's for sure. A lot of different faces. The building's changed a lot. Been very fortunate to land here, and I suppose with the facilities we have, it does make coming to work very enjoyable, as well as the people that are around. And as I said, it makes it easy to walk through the doors and continue to get better with that growth mindset. That is something that I've always had, and hopefully pass on to the rest of the playing group that come through the doors.
Chris, can you remember your first recollections of Mitch when you came to the club?
So Mitch was in his second year, going into the 2011 season. We were at a phase there where we had a very established team with some high quality players, obviously, and this big gap between our experienced players and our young players coming through. And we were really driven to find opportunities for those young players. But how many games did you play in your first year? Like, in a highly
8.
Successful team. You'd already played 8 games. So Mitch was well and truly at the forefront of that group of players that we were trying to bring through. But more than any player almost I can remember in my 30 odd years in footy, like Mitch was an old head, in terms of his footy kind of nous. He was already a smart, sort of coachable player. And that's kind of the way I would describe our relationship over the years. I've always felt like Mitch was more a peer than kind of a sort of young player and coach relationship, and that's sort of where we are now. Like, Mitch has always been an on-field coach. It didn't take 200 or 250 games for him to become that. I felt like he was that after 10 games.
Are there any moments in particular that stand out? Basically, obviously the 2011 grand final, what he was able to do there at the sub, but any other moments in particular that really stand out?
I love that running goal. I'm going to say it was in the third quarter of that grand final. I've thought about it a lot over the last couple of weeks, in particular when it became clear that this day was coming quickly. And we've had a lot of great times together. And this might seem strange that this is the thing that keeps coming back to my thinking. Devastated is a strong word, but in footy terms, devastated after the 2020 grand final loss. It's just a hard time for everyone. And I thought that we did as good a job as a club as we possibly could getting through that period. And I was just we got back to the hotel after that loss, and I was, just talking to Mitch, and, just felt so flat. And Mitch is like always the pragmatist. He's like, we'll be right. Just get back on the horse, and that was what I should have been saying to him. And yet it was him sort of making me feel a bit better about the world. So again, we've had so many good times together, and it's easy to remember those, but that's sort of, I think that's the thing. If you ask me the one thing that I sort of remember about Mitch, it's strange, but it is kind of that conversation. And there's been a number of times where he's kind of straightened me up, and in terms of the way, not deliberately, I don't think, but just I test my thinking around footy through Mitch, and that's a pretty good example of him helping me through it.
Mitch, 300 games is a long time. Have you ever fallen out of love with the game?
Nah, I don't think so. As Scotty kind of touched on then, I feel like I can, get over those devastating losses and, periods in my life where, it was hard for the first hour, maybe.
Yeah. I was a year, you were an hour. Yeah.
But you can never change what's happened in the past, so it's always about, like, how can we go about our business, get better and learn from our mistakes, and come out on the other end. And that's I think what made 2022 so rewarding. It's all the downs that we had, as well as we had a lot of ups. To be able to finally do it, obviously again with a different group and with the family that I created and had was probably one of the highlights for me. But I've never fell out of love with footy, to answer the question quickly.
The names you've joined, Mitch, in the 300 club down here, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's funny when you look at them, because you just never thought you'd probably be in that company. And I probably won't reflect on it that much until maybe time's done, which is definitely probably closer than now than at the start of the career, that's for sure. But yeah, there's amazing names. I was putting together a 22 for Lauren Wood the other day, and I had to just look at the names, and it's hard to squeeze them all in. I had to pick a few that I chucked Billy Smets in there just for a few laughs and off-field, I suppose, antics that I've enjoyed with Bill. But there's some great players there, and I'll truly forever grateful to be able to play with those guys and learn from them. They've probably helped mould me into the person I am today, whether it's playing or off the field as well. So always thank those guys.
And just the footballer you've become, from the outside, sort of smooth and dependable, pretty tough as well, not sort of outwardly, but how do you kind of describe the player that you've become?
I don't know. I got asked. I like to. Dependable is a great word, and I like that. Like a reliable player that can play in multiple positions for when the coach needs. And I feel like I've been able to do that for Scotty. I think that anyway. And I love the ball in my hands. Love distributing the ball to the big key forwards. And that's part of my game, connecting between each line. And I'm probably more of an offensive minded player than a defensive minded player. But I feel like I can be reliable with whatever role that comes my way.
When did Geelong feel like home, Mitch? They're not footy home, but life home.
I was lucky enough to have a really good host family when I first came to the footy club. They certainly made life a lot easier. And then obviously meeting Demi, it made me feel like home, definitely. Having another family here. Was obviously really important too. So my mother and father-in-law obviously played a big role there as well. So I thank them.
And Geelong's a much better place than Perth.
And the footy club in general, it it does wonderful things to people, and I suppose they're like a second family as well. So I couldn't have done it without them. That's for sure.
Feels like there's a bit of a bromance going on here as well. What's your relationship like with Chris Scott?
Yeah, it's definitely evolved, and there's no doubt. I think he's someone that has the players' backs from the start, and I really appreciate that from him. I haven't had too many media beat-ups in my time, but he's definitely a players' coach, and that's something that I really admire. But he's one of the smartest footy people I know as well, so I love learning off him and sometimes challenging his thinking, because it's only going to be benefit for me as well. So I dare say I wouldn't be here without him either.
You came into the year on 296 and you spent the first half a dozen plying your trade in the VFL. Is there ever cross your mind go, oh, this might not come? Or does it not matter?
No, I actually really enjoyed playing VFL this year. Really, I suppose you get back to basics, and I suppose for the next period of my life, I want to kind of go down that coaching coaching element, and to be able to do that with the young kids here, it's a great opportunity, and I always had confidence deep down that this day would come. I back my ability, and have great trust in the conversations we have with the right people, and I think the way it's been managed and handled has been first class from probably all ends.
And can I add, like, especially from Mitch, mainly from Mitch. So a lot of players say the right words, and Mitch has alluded to it over the years. It's kind of something to the effect of, "I'll play wherever you need me," but he really meant that. And through this pre-season and the early parts of this season, when Mitch said, "I'll just do what's required of me and I'll give myself every chance, and if I play in the VFL, I'll embrace that and I'll help coach the younger guys," I can't think of anyone who's done it as well as Mitch. And he just played and trained so well that our intention was to prioritise a few younger players early in the year, but he just hasn't missed a beat. And this is not a situation where we're finding a spot for Mitch in the team. He's just been performing too well to not have him in the team. But you would expect, and it's just logical, that when you get to Mitch's stage of his career, that you get a bit grumpy. I was the quintessential old grumpy player. I know exactly what they look like, but Mitch has been the opposite. So when he says, "Oh, it's been handled well," 1% the club, 99% him, I think.
Do you think Mitch is a senior coach in waiting, Chris, down the line?
All options are open to Mitch in the footy world, I think. He's a deep thinker about the game, and it was really well put that we've had I've never pretended to be a coach who is best friends with the players. Like that, I just don't think that's the coach-player relationship. But when you're together a long time, the kind of a natural, organic kind of friendship sort of evolves. Certainly one that hasn't been forced, but often just through shooting the breeze and talking about footy. And that is still, in my opinion, the best part about coaching, or administration for that matter. The bits where it's almost like sitting at the pub on a Friday night just talking about footy. They're clearly the best bits. And when you find people that, you half an hour's gone by because you're just enjoying talking about footy, they're the ones that you'll want to work with, and they're the ones that tend to have the best effect. And so, yes, coaching's definitely a path that Mitch could excel at, but footy is a bit broader than just the coaching bit. So I think our intention is kind of to explore those areas and find the best fit over time.
Bailey Smith, will he be playing on Thursday night?
Yeah, so I think Sarah mentioned to me that there was some commentary around him not training. He trained, you just didn't see it. And we have a pretty individual kind of program on that day. So yeah, he's fine.
Do you need a matter of the 5-day break that he was sort of training indoors?
Oh, it's more a function that we just have an individual program and the cameras see a portion of our training, and generally it's not the best bit. Sorry.
Bailey's handled everything, Chris, with aplomb so far since coming to this club. This will be a test. It's getting built up as like a movie-style blockbuster. How's he going with the build-up to this game?
How's he going with the attention? Yeah. Fine. Yeah. He doesn't have any problem with the attention at all. And I think when players play against their former club, there's a bit of added spice to it. And for some players who don't like that kind of attention, it can be a challenge. But I think for others, it's stimulating. I think, and Bailey's certainly in that latter category. And we've got no intention of deflating the hype. But my sense is that there's a lot of goodwill from both sides. It's, and obviously any kind of tension there will be magnified. But when I speak to Bailey, he's got nothing but good things to say about the Bulldogs and his former teammates. And we've spent a bit of time obviously on them this week. And so it's hard not to have respect for the way they're playing and the quality of their team. It seems to me, and it's a bit dull, but it seems to me like it's been a bit of a win-win. The trade is working out pretty well for them so far. I would have thought Matthew Kennedy was part of that. He's in career best form to my observation. So we're really happy to have Bailey. Again, we do encourage our players to be themselves, and I'm more than happy for Bailey to take the limelight away from a few of us to an extent this week. He can have it, can't he?
Yes.
On field, do you anticipate though there might be some fireworks early and a few of those tougher former teammates might work him over a bit?
Oh, they can try. Yeah, but I use this cricket analogy that in these sort of situations, like there are some players that you sledge because it might affect them. And the Australian cricketers that I kind of know, I've said, there were those players, but there are others, and Sachin Tendulkar's the one that they bring up. It's like, just be really careful, because some players, you know, those sort of sledges can really steal them, and you can have a long, hard day. And look, I'm not saying Bailey's that necessarily, but I'm pretty confident in the small amount of time I've spent with him that the hype and the combativeness is something that energises him. So, again, I think he needs that. So it's up to them. They know him better than I do, to be frank. So, but let's not take away from the theatre of it. It'll be a full house on Thursday night at the Cats. And it is interesting to reflect back when we started. Mitch was a year earlier than me. But this, if someone had said in 15 years' time, we're going to have 40,000 people at a packed GMHBA stadium with the quality of facilities and two of the, I mean, blowing our own trumpet a little bit, but probably two of the best teams in the comp right at the moment. It's pretty cool for Geelong. It's good to be a part of.
Is it just, Chris, is it as simple as Stewart and Stanley for Dangerfield and Bowes, or is that dumbing it down too much?
No, that bit's likely, and there might be one other as well. Yeah, but we'll need to get through today.
George Stevens a chance?
Stevens and Closey will be in the squad, yeah.